With the recent string of bad media coverage for Shadow, Stadia, Amazon, and others, is it official? Is cloud gaming officially on its last legs? Is it about to die? Is the toe tag already on? Well, let's talk about it in full detail with all the facts and in totality. Let's get into it. It's SDO Daily, baby. Let's go.
Not sorry. Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me a matte all black truck. I'm not sorry.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K back again with another episode of SDO Daily for the Stadia Dosage platform. Do us a huge favor before we get into this one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when your boy's dropping these doses. I appreciate all of y'all straight up. Y'all know the deal, y'all know the reason, and y'all know the slogan. I am not too proud to ask. Let's get into it. All right, let's talk about it, y'all. All right, so there has been a recent string of bad news that is being focused on, being harked upon by the media, all right? And it's in regards to cloud gaming. So you have, I'm gonna focus on the big three right now. I'm not gonna really focus on Amazon, even though Amazon did have some bad news where the head of the cloud gaming effort with Luna, Amazon Luna's cloud service, he just left like a thief in the night. He left like a thief in the night and went to Unity, went over at Unity and didn't tell nobody. You know what I'm saying? And we found out on a whim, right? So here's the thing though, y'all. We're going to go over the big three. We're going to talk about what the media coverage has been, and then we're going to talk on the back end on what the reality of it all means. And we're going to conjoin it to some things that happened to some other entities that was far more steep that I think we're having revisionist history about that we need to be reminded of. But first and foremost, let's talk about this news that's going on with cloud gaming. And you know how we do. Let me show you something. So first, let's talk about Shadow. Okay, so Shadow recently filed for bankruptcy in France and in the United States, if my information serves me right. And they did so to try to maintain coverage of their servers or whatever. I'm not sure what's all going on here, but I know that they filed for bankruptcy. Okay, and in a Q&A associated to all this, they had mentioned that they need a backer bad. They're very confident they're going to get a backer, but they need a backer bad. All right. And because they need a backer bad, they were asked, well, hold on. If you need a backer so bad, what if you don't get said backer? What's going to happen? And the co-founder just simply said, look, if we don't get a backer, ain't going to be no more Shadow. You know what I'm saying? So yes, they are in a very, very serious situation. And we'll talk about it on the back end on why they're so optimistic and why you can look at this with an optimistic lens. But yes, that's Shadow situation. Now let's talk about Google. So again, Google shut down its first-party development and first-party publishing stint. Well, it's winding it down because there's still games that are in the backlog that are going to be under that publishing stint that could still release in 2021. We don't have the full gamut of them yet, but one of them released more recently, which is Pixel Junk Raiders of the Pixel Junk series. Fantastic game, great visual design, fun play loop. Definitely, I urge you, if you're not on Google Stadia right now, take advantage of the link that's going to be attached in the description and below in the comments. Click on that link. Go set yourself up with 2 free months of Stadia Pro, and at no additional cost, you can play Pixel Junk Raiders and a bunch of other Stadia games as well. All right. I urge you to do that. You'll have a lot of fun with this game, for the most part, I guarantee. All right, but with all that said, SG&E closed down. The world went crazy. Oh my, we knew it. Google Graveyard, where you're at. You know what I mean? And even though Stadia came out and said, look, this is a reshuffling of our focus, we realize what our creme de la creme is. Our creme de la creme right now the thing that gets people most excited about our platform is the ability to play their favorite AAA or big ticket multiplats on our platform with the great performance and the comfortability and the easy use and the portability to be able to play those on Stadia. Not what we got looming in the future 5 years from now, right? Because SG&E was not going to be able to produce anything substantial until 5 years from now. They told you, Jade Raymond told you that in a stream, but of course you don't know because you weren't paying attention because you were listening to Jason Schreier and all those other. I digress. I'm gonna continue on, right? So they said instead of investing heavily in what's going to happen 5 years from now, at this moment, we need to solidify the business model. The biggest thing people want from us now, let's provide it, which is exposure to their favorite games on our platform so they can take it on the go and play on any screen. All right. But the media isn't happy with that excuse. They feel like that there's a lot of information out there about what happened in the past, what happened at launch. They're not looking at what happened with Cyberpunk, and they feel that these are just signs that Stadia is closing down. Okay, so that's the situation with Stadia. Now, GFN, even though in the media, they are the most positively looked at because their experience is tethered the most to hardware that you already have. Meaning, you buy a game on the PC, and if you're on the go or you're away from your powerful rig, you can just use GFN and stream it. And that's the model that the media likes the most. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what cloud gaming's intentions are to be a convenience and a cost-effective way for gamers who normally couldn't get into these type of games to now jump back into gaming because they've been adulting, living adult lives, paying bills, putting kids through college, stuff like that, and they can't afford to do things like that. I know from experience, I've worked with people who I know financially made more money than me, but because of their personal responsibilities and the people that depended upon them, they loved gaming, but they couldn't get into it. I've talked about it here on this platform where I had to come and bring them in old Xbox, well, not old Xbox 360s, but extra Xbox 360s that we had laying around the house in order for them to be able to game. They couldn't even buy an Xbox 360, right? And I gave them a bunch of games too for them to enjoy. You know, there's a bunch of people like that. The media doesn't realize it. They don't know it. They don't care about it because they're elitists and they get games for free. So so gaming is comfortable for everybody, right? So GFN makes the most sense to them. So they're more positive about GFN than they are anything. But GFN isn't out of the clear fully with the media and with analysts. Analysts have talked about that even though GFN's numbers are soaring as far as overall users, the problem is that the majority of that user base are people that are doing simply what the media is praising them for, which is play it on the go, using the free tier, not really investing into the platform. That poses a problem because the server is being utilized, which has costs associated to it, but they're not getting enough back from paying users. People are only using the free tier. Well, not only, but for the most part using the free tier. Not enough paid subscribers to make this business model sustainable. But they're doing what the media tells them they should be doing, right? So they should be hella profitable, right? No, there's a reason why people are behind typewriters, typing articles, and they're not in the Fortune 500 world. There's a reason for that, right? Right. Let's continue on now. So that's everything that is negative about these platforms that's out there in the ethos. However, let me hit you with a little bit of the reality, or as Missy Elliott used to say, let's hit you with the heat. Let me hit you with the heat first and foremost about GFN. GFN just posted financials that say that even though that may be the case with their services being upside down as far as paid subscribers versus non-paid subscribers, that the gaming sector altogether is making so much money, it can help subsidize that effort until they turn it around. So that's great news for GFN. And you got to remember, GFN is mainly in this, and they admitted they're in this because they themselves, dedicated device makers, those that have information that you and I don't have, people in the media don't have. That's why, again, they're behind a desk typing on a typewriter instead of being in a Fortune 500 world, all right? There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing and not doing this. There's information that these people have. Nvidia is highly concerned that in upcoming years, in future years, that cloud gaming is going to grow so rapidly and so vastly that it's going to oversaturate their daddy device business with GPUs and so forth. So they're making investments in what they see as an off branch of gaming. Now, which is smart. Can you imagine if Blockbuster, instead of fighting Netflix, did their Netflix thing early as well? They'd still be around likely. And that's what GFN is doing. That's what GFN is all about from the Nvidia wing. So Nvidia right now, for all intents and purposes, even though the business model itself for GFN specifically may be underwater, they have other efforts to subsidize it, and they have a reason to be in this for the long term because it's indicative of their future gaming business. All right, let's talk about Stadia. Even though Stadia was tagged with a lot of doom and gloom, and people brought up a lot of old stuff to say why they're currently going to fail, what they failed to do is mention that, yes, there may have been controllers that were sitting in abundance because of the poor launch. We all know that the launch was poor. It was mismanaged and things weren't said right. And we've all, from your Stadia hater to your biggest Stadia enthusiast, admits that, right? But what these publications fail to tell you is that closing out 2020, Stadia did a fantastic job. They started off with popular campaigns with Austin Creed of WWE and other entities, bringing light to Stadia initiatives, right? Then they had the YouTube premium bundles where they were giving YouTube premium people those same controllers that were earmarked earlier in the year that Jason Schreier reported, not from later in the year, earlier in the year from the launch. Those same controllers were likely earmarked for these efforts, and those sold out. So YouTube premium people's like, oh, I could get a Stadia bundle too, sign me up. And those sold out in days, faster than Google expected. The same thing happened when Stadia Premier bundles were offered with the sale of Cyberpunk 2077. Those sold out in a matter of days. Now, lastly, Cyberpunk 2077, period, on its own, sold out the units in stores where they were being offered. You couldn't even go to Best Buy and find one for almost a month. That's never been the case with Stadia. It's never been sold out or out of supply anywhere. That was because of the AAA effort of Cyberpunk 2077 and it helping to bring to light the realization of what Stadia offers. And that spooled over to the mainstream gaming community, so they all went and flocked and bought Stadias wherever they can get their hands on them. Those that couldn't wait for it to come in the mail went to Best Buy to try to pick one up, and they completely went through the supply, and they couldn't restock for almost a month. So even though there's news reports that tell you about, yeah, the launch was this and they were few thousands, hundreds of thousands short and this, that's all older stuff. Once the free tier happened, you started seeing crazy stuff like user engagement go up 1,000%. You were seeing tens of thousands of signups a day in some points in time. Then you fast forward to the fourth quarter with those successful campaigns and all that other stuff. So anything that was being reported on that happened in the past, it was all made a wash for the stuff that happened at the end of the year. But of course, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to try to use their clever, slick, and sly ways to make it seem like that the stuff that happened at the beginning of the year happened throughout the year. But you can't listen to the elitist reporters because they have an agenda. And last but not least, as far as the flip side on the negative news, even Shadow filing bankruptcy, what it did is it brought the value of the company down, which originally would seem like a bad thing. But if you're an investor that has the money, that has the capital, and you believe in what Shadow presents, because Shadow has fantastic tech. Not only, it's not just gaming, it gives you a virtual PC in the sky, a powerful one at that. And if you can find ways to reshift the business model and stuff like that, Shadow could be an elite force in gaming or cloud technology, period. So, even though it may be undervalued because of the bankruptcy, that could be more appealing to more investors. So yes, the co-founder was right that it is in all likelihood they should be able to find an investor to help reemerge Shadow into what they want it to be, right? But here's the revisionist history that I talked about in the bumper. See, when you get into gaming, it's not all apples and roses and peaches and all the other stuff, right? Because if you look at some of our biggest entities in gaming right now, reasonably or preferably Xbox and PlayStation, and it ain't been all roses for them. Let's look at the launch of the OG Xbox. Now, this is a story. A decade later, Chief Xbox Officer revisits his critical decisions. This is from Robbie Bach, the former Microsoft President and Chief Xbox Officer. He talks about how much was lost on the OG Xbox. The OG Xbox that got curb stomped by PlayStation. 150 million to 24 million lost in that effort. $5 to $7 billion in that original campaign. Get out of here trying to give me an advertisement. 5 to 7 billion in that whole generation. They lost 24 billion to 150 billion, but 24 million to 150 billion, but it ain't over yet. Check this out. Specifically, with the 360 generation, Xbox's most successful mindshare generation, specifically using financial reports that parents claims that despite its tremendous success, the Xbox 360 has cost Microsoft a total of $3 billion. They lost $3 billion with the 360. So you're talking about anywhere between $8 to $10 billion in its first two generations Microsoft lost with Xbox. And look at them now. In a year where Sony made $16 billion with some of the best content they've had in their 24-year history, Microsoft still made $10 billion because of its business deals. Gaming takes time. And even in that stint, the almighty PlayStation, they lost $4 billion with the PlayStation 3. So all of these entities go through rough patches. Let's not have revisionist history. Let's not fall prey and fall victim to all the lies and misinformation from the elitist media that want to, because they don't like the advent of cloud gaming. They like collecting and holding and touching stuff that don't fall for their agenda. They don't look out for you and what's best for you. They don't look out for the people like how I spoke of earlier, where I had to bring Xbox 360s into work. Make that person's day, man. They don't care about that because they don't go through the same struggles that we go through. And there's a reason why they're not business owners and they're sitting behind some typewriter, you know what I'm saying? Or writing calligraphy somewhere. They're where they belong because they're only good at deceiving and misleading people. With that being said, don't be misled. Don't be deceived. Kick the tires yourself and look for this information. It's out there. Cloud gaming is here to stay. And with that said, that's it from your boy MM2K. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, we're curious what I think. But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. Those links will lead you to the Broadband Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, the Stadia Dosage. With all that said, love you all. Can't wait. Get into some gaming. You have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.